The story kicks off in Chinatown, where private investigator Walter realizes his cover has been blown. He spots a tail and immediately picks up his pace, trying to lose the shadow. Thinking fast, he discreetly drops a mysterious package into a roadside mailbox to secure the evidence. However, his luck runs out the moment he steps off the curb. A van screeches out of the darkness and slams into him with brutal force. As Walter lies bleeding out on the asphalt, the van speeds away into the night, leaving him for dead. Meanwhile, over in Hawaii, we are introduced to Navy Commander James. He's in the middle of a grueling training session in a pool, pushing his team to their absolute limits. When he realizes that none of the soldiers can hold their breath underwater as long as he can, he surfaces to chew them out for their weakness. His lecture is cut short by a subordinate who informs him of an urgent call from the police. Cut to the morgue, where James stands over the cold body of his father, Walter. The authorities claim it was a hit-and-run accident, but James's reaction is unsettling. He shows zero emotion, staring at his father's corpse with the detachment of a stranger. Later that evening, James returns home and starts prepping dinner for his family as if nothing tragic had happened. When his wife, Layla, asks about his day, he talks about the training session before casually dropping the bomb that Walter is dead. Notably, he refers to his dad by his first name rather than Dad. Layla suggests that his brother needs to be informed, but James shuts that down immediately. He reminds her that he and his brother haven't spoken in years and that his brother wouldn't answer his calls anyway. We then shift gears to Oklahoma to meet that estranged half-brother, Johnny. It is not a good day for him. He walks into his apartment to find his girlfriend, Valentina, packing her bags. It turns out today is her birthday, and Johnny completely forgot. For Valentina, this is the final straw. Johnny's always messing around and refuses to take life seriously. Johnny tries to apologize, swearing he will do better. Valentina gives him a goodbye kiss, but immediately follows it up with a hard slap across the face before walking out the door. A depressed Johnny spends the next few hours drinking heavily to numb the pain. In the middle of his bender, he gets a call from Layla, who breaks the news about Walter's death and mentions the funeral is tomorrow. Johnny, still bitter, says he has no interest in attending. He wanders into the bathroom while still on the phone, rambling about his police work. Suddenly, two thugs materialize behind him, pressing a knife to his throat. Startled, Johnny spins around and, in his drunken state, accidentally urinates on the attacker's shoes. These men aren't random burglars. They reveal Yakuza tattoos and demand the package that Walter mailed. Johnny is genuinely confused and explains he hasn't seen Walter since he was a child. The men threaten to gut him if they don't get what they came for. Johnny feigns fear, pretending to beg for his life before flipping the switch. He explodes into action, throwing the goons around the bathroom, smashing the sink, and destroying the door in the process.
A third attacker bursts in with a gun, forcing Johnny to dive for cover. When one of the knocked-out thugs wakes up, Johnny slams him against the broken door, using it to pin the shooter and punching him right through the wood. The brawl spills out into the apartment, with Johnny improvising weapons from furniture and even pausing mid-fight to take a swig of his drink. He manages to knock two of them out cold. The final attacker makes the mistake of smashing a small shrine dedicated to Johnny's mother. Enraged, Johnny grabs a cheese grater and brutally shreds the man's arm before smashing his face into the table, right next to Valentina's thanks for nothing note. The mobsters try to get back up, and Johnny is nearly choked out, but he survives by throwing the last guy onto a pile of jagged glass shards. Breathing heavily, Johnny picks up a photo of his mother. Tucked behind it is a picture of Walter. Johnny stares at it and curses his father. The next day in Hawaii, the funeral is a tense affair. James notices that members of two rival criminal organizations, the Yakuza and the Syndicate, are watching from the perimeter. He's even more surprised when Johnny actually shows up. The reunion is far from warm. The brothers immediately start trading insults and arguing until the priest has to step in and scold them like children. After the ceremony, Walter's ashes are sent out to sea on a canoe. Later, Johnny discovers James is living in their childhood home. We learn the family history. Walter had an affair while married to James' mother, and Johnny was the result. James's mother raised Johnny as her own, but James always resented him because he felt the affair destroyed their family unit. At the post-funeral lunch, the family is joined by Governor Peterson as Johnny's half-sister Hanani works for him. Johnny drops the pretense and reveals he didn't come to mourn. He came to find Walter's killer. James insists it was a simple accident, but Johnny recounts the hit squad attack from the night before. James accuses Johnny of being a magnet for trouble, cruelly pointing out that Johnny wasn't there to save their mother when she was killed either. James pauses, realizing he went too far, and asks to speak in private. Down at the beach, the brothers just argue again. Johnny refuses to believe the murder theory, so Johnny flips him the bird and storms off. He heads to a local dive bar and bumps into an old friend, Alekai, who's now a member of the syndicate. Alekai mentions his boss, Mr. K, wants a meeting. Johnny isn't interested, but suddenly the room starts spinning. Alekai has spiked his drink with a sedative. Johnny wakes up in a dim room facing Mr. K. The crime boss notes that Johnny has hurt many of his men in the past. Johnny retorts that he only did it because the syndicate killed his mother. K demands that Johnny leave Hawaii immediately. When Johnny refuses, K throws him onto a table and uses a knife to carve an initial in his neck, giving him 7 days to get off the island or die. Meanwhile, James goes to see Detective Renard to access the police report. Renard admits the file is empty, no witnesses, broken cameras, and it happened in a neighborhood where people don't talk to cops. The police have closed the case. James collects Walter's personal effects, finding a knife and a lottery ticket with a strange list of words on the back.
At the same time, Johnny breaks into Walter's apartment to snoop. He finds a gun in the desk and decides to keep it. Suddenly, another intruder enters. Johnny hides and watches a young local, Pika, rifling through papers. Johnny tries to ambush him, but Pika throws a plate at him and bolts. Pika parkours off the roof and across cars to reach the street, but Johnny is waiting at the bottom with a devastating clothesline. He drags the kid to a bar for answers. Pika explains he worked for Walter, who was like a father figure to him. Walter had many enemies, and his last job was investigating a catering company. Pika was undercover as a waiter there, but didn't know the full story. Johnny decides to recruit the kid, painfully snapping Pika's broken nose back into place. Back with James, he returns to the crash site. He spots a surveillance camera in a nearby adult store. The owner refuses to share the footage, so James rips the piercings out of the clerk's face until he cooperates. Later, Johnny and Pika find a surfboard in Walter's apartment. Pika notes that Walter didn't surf. Johnny notices a loose fin and pulls it, revealing a hidden compartment containing blueprints. He calls Honani, who confirms the blueprints bear Governor Peter's official seal. As Pika tries to leave, the front door slams into him. It's James, bursting in with his gun drawn. Johnny draws his weapon too. Realizing they are both investigating the same thing, they stand down. James reveals a flash drive with the security footage he stole. They watch the video. The van has no plates and the driver never hits the brakes. It was clearly a deliberate murder. Johnny sends Pika to dig up info on the catering company, and the brothers hop in a car to investigate. They argue while driving, which distracts them from a massive SUV waiting around the corner. Smash! The SUV T-bones them and pushes their car down the street, causing a massive pileup. Gunmen in the SUV open fire. James floors it, crashing through restaurant tables to escape, but they get pinned. Johnny returns fire, but the enemy vehicle has bulletproof glass. James manages a precision shot, taking out the driver with a bullet to the head. He tries to take out the others, but his gun clicks empty. Johnny shoots his own door open and bails, sprinting down the street while laying down cover fire to distract the attackers. James scavenges some ammo, climbs out of the window, and leaps onto the roof of the moving enemy car. He tries to shoot through the roof, but it's reinforced. Johnny shoots the enemy car's engine block, causing it to explode and crash. James rolls onto the pavement, battered but alive. At the police station, Renard is furious. He reveals Johnny was suspended from the Oklahoma police force 2 months ago for excessive force and is currently under investigation. James hands over the flash drive evidence, but Renard ignores it and tells them to back off. That night, Honani reveals what she found in the database. The blueprints are for a property commissioned by a tycoon named Marcus, stamped with Sacred Casino Princess. This is suspicious because gambling is strictly illegal in Hawaii. The group decides to confront Marcus at his fundraiser the next day. The next morning, James asks about the suspension. Johnny admits he beat up a dealer who was selling drugs to kids. James actually seems to respect that. They visit the construction site, but it's just a traditional Hawaiian village. Pika calls with a lead. The cops pulled a blue van out of the ocean. Inside, they found the body of a government accountant. Renard tries to hide the vehicle registration list, but the brothers get a peek. One name stands out: Hayashi Imports, a known Yakuza front. A few hours later, Pika sneaks the brothers into the fundraiser as waiters. He confirms Hayashi Imports is Yakuza. James serves Nakamura, the Yakuza boss, who is casually using happy powder at the table. James swipes Nakamura's credit card, which is registered to Hayashi Imports. James returns it, cheekily asking if they lost a blue van. Nakamura is not amused and issues a subtle threat before walking away. Meanwhile, Johnny introduces himself to Monica, Marcus's wife. She recognizes his last name. She reveals she hired Walter to find dirt on Marcus so she could divorce him safely. Without leverage, she's in danger. Marcus interrupts, and his security drags the brothers to a back room. Marcus admits hiring Walter to verify if Monica was cheating, but denies killing him. While Johnny plays with a grenade on the desk, James notices a napkin with severed fingers inside. Marcus kicks them out. As they leave, Marcus glares at Monica's photo. The next day, Johnny goes to meet Monica at her penthouse, but finds a crime scene. She's dead on top of a car. The official story is she fell from the balcony. Enraged, Johnny storms Marcus's mansion, fighting through a dozen guards in a blind rage. He is eventually tased and captured. Marcus denies the murder again and hands himself over to the police. In jail, Governor Peter visits Johnny. He claims to have convinced Marcus to drop charges, but warns Johnny to let the law handle it, hinting that Walter had a darkness that the brothers share. He urges them to support each other. When Johnny is released, James is waiting. He lectures Johnny about his reckless behavior, saying violence won't bring their mom back. Johnny snaps. He headbutts James, and they engage in a brutal fistfight, smashing into police cars and rolling in the mud. Eventually, James overpowers Johnny. Panting, Johnny asks why James abandoned him years ago. James admits he sent Johnny away to protect him from the syndicate, who had put a hit on him. They finally reconcile. Back at the house, Valentina calls. She went to Johnny's apartment and found Walter's package. It contains a flash drive. She flies to Hawaii, greeting Johnny by throwing her suitcase at him. She's still mad. Pika tries to access the drive, but it's a crypto cold wallet protected by a 12-word passkey. James realizes the words on the lottery ticket in Walter's wallet are the code. Suddenly, a helicopter attacks them on the highway. Bullets rain down, causing chaos. Valentina takes the wheel, driving like a professional stuntman, weaving through crashing cars. The helicopter drops bikers to chase them. One biker jumps onto their car roof. James fights him in the back seat, while Johnny fights another guy on the hood. Valentina scrapes the car against a fence to peel the attacker off. James kicks his guy out onto the road. Finally, the brothers shoot the helicopter pilot, causing a fiery crash into the tunnel. Safe for now, they unlock the drive. It reveals that Marcus is paying Governor Peter $12 million a year to legalize gambling. Peter is the mastermind. He had the accountant and Walter killed to hide the bribe. Haunani confronts Peter with the blueprints, but he feigns innocence and confiscates the evidence to review it. The team launches a night raid on Marcus's mansion. They snipe the perimeter guards and move across the yard. Johnny leaves a "smile" note on a window before sniping a guard through the glass. They cut the power to the house. Marcus sends a guard to check the fuse box, who finds his squad dead in the pool. Johnny stabs the guard and uses his radio to taunt Marcus.
Marcus sends his Yakuza goons to hunt them. James gets cornered in a hallway, but he unleashes hell. Despite the tight space, he takes out the entire squad with a hammer in his bare hands. One mobster tries to flee, but James tackles him and finishes him off. They rescue the women held captive in the basement, and Johnny sends them to safety while he hunts Marcus. James finds Nakamura. It's a brutal duel. Nakamura with a katana, James with a mace. James breaks Nakamura's arm and impales him with his own sword. On the docks, Johnny tackles Marcus, who is trying to flee by boat. They brawl, throwing everything they can find at each other. Marcus stabs Johnny with a boat hook and drags him, but Johnny manages to pull the pin on the grenade he stole earlier. Marcus shoots Johnny, knocking him into the water, but the grenade detonates seconds later, blowing Marcus and the boat to to smithereens. James dives in and saves his drowning brother. In the aftermath, Governor Peter is publicly arrested. The family gathers on the beach for a barbecue to honor their lost loved ones. Johnny apologizes to his mother's spirit for staying away so long. Mr. K appears, revealing a twist. He manipulated Johnny into destroying the Yakuza so the syndicate could rule the island alone. As payment, he hands Johnny a slip of paper with the name of the man who actually killed their mother. Johnny shows James, then tosses the paper into the fire. He chooses peace and his family over revenge, finally ready to start a new chapter.